and welcome back to Pokemon Month, everyone! So let's cut to the chase. Most people have a favorite region. A Pokemon region that no matter what Pokemon are in it or how it's ran, you will always stay loyal to your Pokehome. And for me, that Pokehome is Hoenn. I've always loved the Hoenn region, those Pokemon designs, that sweet bike course, but most importantly, space Pokemon. You heard me right. Legendaries in space. So of course, I had to choose a movie from the Advanced Battle Saga of the anime. That's movies 6 through 9 if you're counting. So after a lot of thought, I decided to go with the 8th movie, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, because I'm surprised at how much I have to say about it. I do want to say right now that I will be focusing on the English release of the movie. This is mostly because I really couldn't get a copy of the sub. But I also believe that in the case of Pokemon, this global phenomenon has hit so many people of so many different languages. So it's easy to see how people will get more of an impact in their own native language. Now with all the house rules out of the way, let's get this thing moving. Our story begins with Ash, Brock, May, and Max arriving at the Cameron Palace just in time for their annual Pokemon competition. Upon Ash's win, they all celebrate in the ballroom, where he is then told about the heroic deeds of Sir Aaron, the guardian of Aura, and the person that this festival is dedicated to. For it was he who saved the palace from a threat of 2 opposing armies. All the while, Meowth, Pikachu, and the rest of the Pokepals are having fun with the legendary Pokemon Mew, until all of a sudden a duo of Weavile come in to mess with the mystical Pokemon. This causes Mew to leave in a hurry, accidentally bringing Meowth and Pikachu with it to its home, the Tree of Beginning. Which is not really a tree, but more of a rock formation mountain thing. But anyway, at the same time Ash, still posing as Sir Aaron, stands up and lifts the staff to signal the fireworks to end the festival. When Lucario is then released from the staff, mistaking Ash for his old master, only to tell everyone that Sir Aaron was in fact not the hero as the legends foretold, and that he actually abandoned the queen, leaving Lucario locked in his staff. Plot twist! Before anyone has time to get a full explanation, they soon find out of Mew's occurrence, and with the help of Lucario's gift of Aura, they set out on a journey towards the Tree of Beginning in order to save Pikachu and reunite once again. Lucario and the Mystery of Mew is an interesting installment in the Pokemon movies by now, because this will be only the second time a non-legendary Pokemon got a main spotlight in the movies, with the third movie being the first. With that being said, I love Lucario's role in the movie. Lucario's backstory, purpose, and motivations were very clear and helped really flesh out the Cameron Palace. And in all honesty, it's because of Lucario's role that helps make better sense of why we are talking about Mew in the Hoenn region. But the movie's greatest strength is that it doesn't involve a Pokemon gang trying to capture a legendary for personal gain, nor a legendary trying to wipe all of humanity for corruption reasons. Instead, it took a very man versus forces of nature approach, as the legendaries that were being antagonistic did not get in the way because humans are harmful to Pokemon, but rather only acting upon the wishes of the real antagonist, in which I'll get to later. Which makes this movie seem much smaller in scale to the first one, where the entire world was at stake, and it's a nice change of pace. Getting right into the cons, the first problem is that the movie doesn't really get started until 40 minutes in, with these first 40 minutes being set up for the actual journey to find Pikachu and Meowth. Second is that if you look at the box for the movie, you'll notice something very important missing. The Hoenn legendaries. What I mean now is that the Pokemon movie's goals were to highlight a legendary from that Pacific region. There were some in this film, and just felt weird how much of a backseat they got despite being wonderfully used. On one hand, you can say that because of the plot, revealing those Pokemon would ruin the surprise. On the other hand, seeing Mew on the cover gives off different signals entirely. Yes, revisiting Pokemon from previous movies was bound to happen, but again, if Lucario's role in the movie wasn't as decently established, I would really question Mew's point in the movie, besides the fact that Jirachi is also a cute mythical Pokemon, but we already did a movie on him already. And one more con, and I really tried to avoid it, but I have to. I really didn't like the Ash being the chosen one trope. It was used in the second movie, and this time it feels like a stretch. Though without Ash having Aura in the first place, Lucario would not have waken up. In fact, this movie also introduces us to the concept of Aura, which now that I think about it makes this canon to the anime, since later episodes in the anime talk about Aura and Ash's ability to wield it. The power of canon, people. The power of canon. With the characters, Ash, Brock, Max, and Team Rocket, I felt that unfortunately, besides Ash for his chosen one reasons, there wasn't much of a need for everyone else. Yes, this is a Pokemon movie geared towards kids, so having friends along for the ride keeps things from being lonely. But I can't ignore the fact that they were just there half the time, not adding anything to the plot. Even the comedy introduced didn't hit that well. As for Team Rocket, because Meowth got captured, they had a lot more involvement in the movie than some others, but not by much. With Ash, his main purpose of the movie was to teach Lucario the values of friendship, and that the bonds between the best of friends can never be severed, even through means of misunderstanding. But you can tell the chemistry between the two just felt thrown in. Speaking of a talking Lucario, this is the 5th Pokemon movie with a talking Pokemon besides Meowth, and I got to say I'm half and half with Lucario's character. Lucario, despite the lack of knowledge that transpired between the centuries while he was still in the lamp, I liked the fact that he was still poised and loyal to his cause, even though he was supposedly abandoned by Sir Aaron. Besides that, there's not much left to say about him. He's a disciple who felt betrayed by his master and through the powers of friendship learns a valuable lesson. Though Sir Aaron's one-note character felt very flat. It was like through most of the movie he was recycling the same things over and over again, just to drag out his role in the movie. I mean, it's not rocket science to tell us that friendship is magic. There's already 6+ seasons of that already. As you can see, he annoyed me greatly. But anyway, let's move on to Kid, our researcher and exposition character of this movie. Kid wants to go to the tree beginning to learn more about its secrets, hoping that they can further help the understanding of the Pokemon world, and get some of that sweet cash money on the side. What? Let's not forget that it was her Weavile's rough playing that caused this mess in the first place. They weren't trying to be mean, but just tagging Mew for research purposes. Kinda like a scientist trying to track animals for their migration patterns. I found her presence very pleasing. I mean, she did a lot more than Brock, May, or Max ever did in this movie. But I do gotta say, what is with that hair? I mean, it's like 2 brown corn cobs sticking out of her head. It's just creepy, man. Let's just move on to presentation. Getting straight into the presentation, the movie was very streamlined for Olm's staple work. I really liked the use of CG here because most of the time it was either used for landscape shots or tiny portions of subject modeling, like during the aura site sections. It wasn't jarring and it didn't become a dependency, plus I think it was shaded with everything else pretty okay. Another thing is that the color palette, the vibrant blues and greens used here, gives a perfect nod to the themes of nature seen in Pokemon movies, though the special effects were hit or miss. A lot of the Pokemon moves seen here did its job just fine, but a lot of other occurrences like dust just at times seemed out of place and glossed over the scene. Overall, I do say it's an improvement, even for Olm in 2005. As for sound though, man, just thinking about it makes me sad. Not for its quality, but it's a reminder of that change in hands. So a moment of silence for 4Kids because this was their last movie. All the original cast is here, including the one and only Veronica Taylor, and her performances as Ash and May were great as always. Kid, played by Rebecca Solar, and Sir Aaron, played by Jason Griffin, also did a good job with their characters. My favorite role has got to be Bella Hudson's portrayal of Lady Rin and Eileen, because even though she was only a small part of the movie, I highly appreciate the changes in tones between the similar sounding ladies. What I love is that she could have just left them alone, in terms of sounding really similar with a higher octave separating the two of them. But the fact that she put Kara in Rin's voice, despite it being a very small part in the beginning, I have to say was very considerate. Now Lucario, voiced by Sean Smeagol, took me a while to get used to, but it grew on me for the calmer tone and delivery. Finally, let's talk about that ending theme, since the opening was the advanced battle theme in the dub. I really did not like the song We Will Meet Again in the dub. It was very cheesy and fillerish, but here's some food for thought. The subs ending was Hajimari no Uta by Puffy Amiyumi, and I think this was the only thing us dub watchers were really left out upon. And it's time for After Show, that part of my reviews where I talk as a fan and the spoiler shield is removed. This section is for those who have already finished the movie, so without further ado, this is your final spoiler warning. Let's talk about some interesting bits, shall we? Now, we learned from Kid's research guru that the tree beginning is alive, and that Mew and the tree share a symbiotic relationship via aura. And because it's alive, it finds all the humans walking around it as foreign invaders in its system. So like the human bloodstream, the tree calls upon, no kidding, white blood cells made to look like ancient Pokemon and the Regis to take care of the potential threat on the tree. This again is what I love about the plot, because the Regis do not have a personal qualm against the humans. They are just going according to nature, which is a perfect example of Pokemon co-inhabiting with the environment, legendaries and all. It's only until Mew gets sick from saving Ash and friends that the tree begins to fail, showing this great symbiotic relationship. Though it does beg the question that if the tree beginning sees humans as foreign invaders, how did Sir Aaron get into the tree unharmed? It can't be his aura powers alone, because Ash supposedly had the same stuff inside him, yet the Regis and the white blood cells went after him. Well, anyway, the Regis in this movie were really cool, especially their sound design. It just sounded so organic to them, and each fit their tones perfectly. I also want to note that this was only the second Pokemon movie to kill off characters and not bring them back, where both Sir Aaron and now Lucario essentially die to save Mew and the tree, by giving it all of their aura, whom we presumably see roaming the afterlife in the credits. Cool to see Pokemon being able to do this kind of thing. By the way, there's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie, from background songs in the dub to the armies literally being a reference to the Red and Green games. Other than that, that's really all I have to say, except, why do you have to remind us of Jirachi Wishmaker with Max in the chocolate scene? That's not right, hitting me right in the feels. We just got past all the goodbyes in here. Why? Just give me a moment while I sort out my emotions. Lucario and the Mystery Mew is what I'd like to call the special snowflake of the Pokemon movies. It's a lot different from the normal Pokemon formula, even though some aspects should have been expanded upon more. But what I realize is that thanks to the way it's framed, you don't have to worry so much about the continuity with this movie because it's so different. Sure, if you know more about Advanced Battle, you will know who May and Max are. But besides that, if you can get past the 40 minutes of setup and it doesn't bother you, then enjoying this movie will be a whole lot easier. So after some consideration and 10 rounds of Pokemon battles, I award Lucario and the Mystery Mew with the recommendation to buy it with the obvious watchability rating of E for everyone. It's a Pokemon movie. What you gonna do? This movie can be found in a lot of places domestically and a couple of places internationally. In fact, there's a link in the description below to where you can rent this movie here on YouTube for $2 if that option is available to you. I have decided to not do recommendations this time around, for there are more Pokemon videos to come underway for this month, so hopefully you'll find something we review to your liking. So that's it for me for now. Next Pokemon review I will be tackling will be the Rise of Darkrai. So until then, this is Shannon, and stay tuned for more Pokemon Month.
Want to support the production? Check out our brand new store on Store Envy. For a small price, you can have a one-of-a-kind poster made by yours truly. If you can only give a small amount to help us out, check out our Patreon page. Any amount you wish to give us goes towards our production needs, so anything you can give us helps us a lot. To keep up with the latest in Anime America stuff, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even Tumblr. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe to Anime America for more awesome reviews and top 10 lists. If you're interested in anything of pop culture, be sure to subscribe to Pop Spectrum. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned to Anime America.